Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
It's always that unique part of any webinar where there's kind of quiet. Are they frozen on screen? No, they're not. We're waiting.
Yeah, we're just waiting. We're waiting for critical mass here for some students to log in, take some time, technical things get worked out, and then we'll start the show, so to speak.
So thank you for joining us. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, and actually, let me go through some nuts and bolts here. So if you guys have questions about careers, certain departments or topics that you want to talk about, I'd like you to put your questions in the Q&A portion in Zoom. It's a little tab that says Q&A. Throw your questions in there so that we can get after them. But the way this will go is we'll do about what would you say, half-hour presentation, Kevin?
Yep.
Then we'll just open it up to questions. So make sure you have those questions queued up. And we're just going to give it like 1 more minute and then we'll introduce and get things started. All right, so thanks everybody for coming. Small group today, so please ask any questions that you have. We'll have plenty of time for that. We'll start with a 30-minute presentation by Kevin. You all know me. My name is Molly. I work in here in admissions. And with me, I have the director of the Career Center, Kevin Jankowski. Kevin, thank you so much for being with us today. And yeah.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Hey everyone, again, my name is Kevin Jankowski. I'm the director of the RISD Career Center. Worked with Molly a lot over many years and really enjoy doing this because we want to provide you with a lot of information of our resources, our services, our events. Our Career Center is incredibly robust, does a lot for our graduate students and undergraduate students and for our alumni. And so I'm going to take you through quite a whirlwind of information. What's really good about it may indeed answer a lot of questions you may even have already. But as Molly said, please feel free to put questions into the Q&A, as you think of them. And let's get started. So here we go. So I'm going to share my screen.
Yep, and I'm just going to hide until you're done. I'll come back.
And I'm pretty sure you can all see the screen at this point. And
looks good, Kevin.
All's looking good?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay, we are good to go. So what you are seeing on the screen that was just shared is actually an image from our design portfolio review. And this is an image before the pandemic because we haven't been able to do the design review on site until this coming March, where we'll be back on site, which is fantastic. However, the review took place over these years during the pandemic remotely, and we didn't miss a beat. This is a really big event. In fact, it's one of the largest events of its kind among all of the art and design schools in the United States. In fact, it is so big that we hold it at the Rhode Island Convention Center. So I'm pretty proud of that. You've got lots of major universities in the state, and I think we're the only one holding a career event at the convention center, but it just gives you a sense of the scale of the event that we would be doing that when it is on site. But as I mentioned, during the pandemic, we worked remotely and did this remotely. And so much that we do, we always want to give you really good information to prepare you even for the events. So there's a website dedicated just to the Design Portfolio Review, to the Fine Art Portfolio Review, to Internship Connect, because they're just often packed with information. So you can see here that you can find information specifically for students, the employers can find information, and you can also check out all of the companies that have been attending. As part of the preparation too, we address questions you might have about how do I prepare, what do I show, how do I follow up? All of that is at the site. And as I noted, we list all of the companies attending, not only so you can prepare, but also so you can go back and refresh if you didn't see certain companies that you were really interested in meeting. We can tell you how to follow up with them. As you can see here, our current archive goes back all the way to 2016. So if you want to see the range of companies that have been attending every year, you can go even back that far. In addition to that, you'll find there's a base of companies that come each year, but we also often have up to a third of the companies are new every year too. So I want to show you some of the companies that attended last spring. In areas of architecture, interior architecture, and landscape, we had HOK, we had KPF, Cohn Peterson Fox, and Perkins and Will. So these are some of the biggest brands in the world, obviously in the United States, and you're able to show them your portfolio, get feedback on your portfolio, and it's just a really incredible and robust event. In areas of landscape architecture, we had land design. And again, these are just a little slice to show you who's coming, but there are many more companies per category. In areas of graphic design, we will still have a publisher like Chronicle Books. But we are also seeing financial companies, medical and healthcare companies, science. There are many different markets will come to the review looking for design talent. So we've had Capital One, Fidelity, USAA, I think. We also will get major branding companies like So, and then also iconic firms like Wolf Olins. In areas of industrial design, we'll get product design companies like New Deal Design, but we also get a lot of consultancies like SY Partners. We've had Frog, we've had IDEO attend, Fjord. This is a really delightful company called Kirkland. If you've been to any museum store, they always carry Kirkland products. And so if someone is really interested in designing those kind of products, you can be meeting with Kirkland. We also get a lot of shoe companies, especially looking for industrial designers, textile designers, apparel designers. So we'll have Reebok, Adidas, we've had Nike, we've had Puma, Timberland, many different brands. And then in apparel and textile design, PVH, which actually owns Tommy Hilfiger and North Face. So keep in mind, as graduate students, we don't have a grad degree in apparel. We do have a grad degree in textiles. But at the same time, you're able, no matter what your major, to meet with these companies. So there's no major restriction. So say you are a grad in graphic design, you can be meeting with an architecture firm. There's, again, no restrictions on that. We also had guests, and we work quite frequently with Urban Outfitters and their whole portfolio of brands. In areas of illustration and animation, we've had DreamWorks. We have gaming companies like Big Huge Games, publishers like Disney Books. And then we almost every year have Hasbro, but we also have Hasbro's competitor, Mattel. So Mattel's been recruiting with us. And of course, with all of the success of Barbie right now, they've been taking in interns and full-time hires. So everything that we do for the design review, we do for the fine arts review. And once again, there's a dedicated website for the fine arts review. In addition to what you get at the website, We also do a program to prepare you as well. So we do a prep for the design review, prep for the fine arts review, prep for the internship connect. And once again, just like the design review, you can see all of the different organizations that are coming to the review. So we are looking at the ecosystem that supports fine artists. And this can include, obviously, galleries, quite evident, museums. We will get nonprofit arts organizations, residency programs, granting organizations, art consultants are all there to look at your portfolio. So some of the ones that came last spring included the really wonderful Pioneer Works, which is in Brooklyn. We'll get a gallery like the Kunstrom Gallery. We'll get a museum like the Leslie Loam Museum of Art. Another really great arts organization, Colored Criticism. Of course, we're addressing a lot of the different disciplines and major in fine arts. So we may have organizations representing ceramics, glass, sculpture, painting, etc. We even had a curator from the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, which is just really cool that you'd be showing your portfolio to a curator at a major museum like that. And we also, again, get major arts organizations like the New York Foundation for the Arts. So to give you a sense what it looks like when we're on site, these are some slices just before the pandemic. It's just an amazing, both of the events are really incredible. And here are some stats so that you can see some numbers. Over 700 students attend between both events. We have 180 companies and arts organizations attending both events, and we schedule over 2,000 face-to-face meetings, which is just really impressive. So after seeing something like that, where do you begin? Especially when you come in as a grad student, you may be here for anywhere from 2 years, 3 years sometimes, or even a year sometimes. So I want to really encourage you, if you come to RISD, to meet with our career advisors and connect to the Career Center. Also, I'm going to be referring to this quite a bit. Our Career Center website, which is careercenter.risd.edu, is really incredible as a resource to you. Even now, I would really encourage you to go in. It's just loaded with fantastic information. So over here, you can see that you can schedule an appointment with us. This is my staff. We have just the most incredible group of people, amazingly caring. And I got to tell you, and I think this is quite impressive, there's been so much movement during the pandemic of people leaving places and moving to other places. This entire staff is intact through the pandemic, and that's almost unheard of. And it says a lot about their commitment to their work. I always love showing this image. We really cheer for you. We really are filled with joy when events go well and you're doing well. And I think this really epitomizes that. And, good work brings even more work. So we're really busy. We schedule career advising appointments all year long, including the summer. So you can see we schedule over 2,200 appointments a year. We also have graduate peer advisors who work in the office with us, who are really incredible individuals. So if you do come to RISD, that is one of the graduate assistantships, is that you could be doing graduate peer advising, which is terrific. And we do have drop-in appointments. So if you can't schedule a 30-minute or an hour-long appointment, you can just drop in, and we do these 20-minute meetings, 15-minute meetings to help you out. So you can really tell that a lot of this is focused on you being proactive with your career and also being prepared. I think there's nothing worse than having a great opportunity come your way and not being ready for it. So we really want to get you ready, want to get you prepared. Again, career site loaded with information. So even under career prep, there's multiple categories. Many of you have your resume, you have your CV. But I can tell you, when you go to grad school, you got to update it, you got to refine it. And you also often have to figure out how you're going to merge this graduate school education with your work experience, your undergraduate education. And we're really good at helping you out with that. So our resume booklet has lots of great samples. And I'm sure many of you experienced in your professional work that the resume gets you the interview, but the interview really gets you the job. So we want to get you ready for the interview. We do a program every spring called In the Hot Seat. And usually it's 2 graduate students who meet with 2 professionals from companies, get interviewed cold, and this is done in front of usually an audience of 30 to 50 in attendance. So others get to be the fly on the wall and watch this take place. We also do mock interviews in the office. So if you are preparing for a great opportunity, we can do a mock interview with you. To give you a sense of the career programming, these were programs that we had this fall, so our schedule is always really packed. Usually there's 1 to 2 programs every week during each semester, and a lot of these run the range from our internship fair, Internship Connect, which we did, to a really fabulous program we did a couple of weeks ago called Museum Careers, working with the RISD Museum, and they brought together conservationists, curators, even graphic designers in the museum to talk about career paths. This also just took place last week. It was a really terrific program with this RISD alum, Sarah Durham, who actually created a business consultancy to help nonprofits be more profitable through their marketing campaigns. And she talked a lot about working with nonprofits. And we have really great spaces for our programs. So right outside my office is this really great gathering space where we can host talks like Adidas here. This was attended by about 100 students before the pandemic. This, believe it or not, is a resume workshop. So we do this in winter sessions called Resume Critique Workshop, and we bring in professionals to look at your resume, give you feedback. And this has been attended pretty consistently by over 100 students. And we put on over 30 career programs a year, but we also get into the classroom a lot. So I just did a presentation for in-pro practices in painting. I just met with the department head in architecture about upcoming programming in illustration as well. So this is something that we do in a very tailored way in every department as well. And we've been recording a lot of these events and presentations, so you can see a whole array of them under career prep and recordings, also our tutorials. And once again, you can go in there right now and even take advantage of grants and residencies, networking, building your portfolio, just really great advice for you. Of course, we're on social media. I'm not sure quite why I begin with Facebook, since very few people are on Facebook in this peer group, but we do post to Facebook, and we post internships, jobs, career programs, career advice, and you can check us out on Facebook if you're on Facebook. However, all of the same information is on Instagram, and we really encourage you to check us out on Instagram as well. So just look for RISD Careers either on Instagram, Facebook, and you'll find us. Again, preparation is really big deal, and we've done this wonderful event every year where we do professional headshots for our graduating students. This is undergrad and grad, and it's a really festive day, very celebratory. We end up with killer shots, and the shots are also done by and led by a RISD graduate photographer. So we love that. And it could be a shot you're going to use at your website. You could use it on your LinkedIn profile, and it's yours, which is terrific. A lot of that leads to networking and mentorship. So once again, at the career site, you can find a lot of great information. But one thing I want to point out is LinkedIn. RISD has nearly 40 LinkedIn groups, which is amazing for a school our size. The big one is the Rhode Island School of Design alumni group. And when you're a student, you can join that group. That group is up to over 10,000 members. And RISD has an alumni population now of about 32,000 on the planet Earth. So a third of them are in this group. So we really encourage you to join this group and take advantage of the networking in this group and many of the other groups. Just to show you an example, I did a search for New York City, greater metropolitan area, and then by RISD. And then I searched by graphic design, and it pulled up 2,600 RISD people in New York with graphic design in their title or profile. And you can see here that they're working at Google, 2x4, and Walsh, New York Times, Frog, Museum of Modern Art are just some of the places. So here's Rafaela, who's a user experience designer at Google. Here's Mehmet, who's a creative director at Frog, which is one of the consultancies I've brought up. Jessica Walsh, who's one of our most famous alumni, has her own studio called N Walsh and works on campaigns like this one for Millie. And there's another platform that you can use to also network, and it's a mentorship platform called the RISD Network. So that is its name. And this platform is now up to 3,000 alumni and about 1,200 students. And so you can search by geography, by major, by interest, and get connected to alumni in those areas. Now, all of this leads to your hunt for internships and jobs and opportunities. And our job board called Artworks has been named Artworks for a long time. And on this job board, you can search for a whole range of opportunities that pertain to your majors. So just to give you a sense, these are some postings in the past several months. This is the Wasaic project. It's actually an artist residency in upstate New York, founded by RISD alumni, and it's a really amazing place. This is Digitas, a major branding agency. You might also find The Atlantic posting for internships or jobs. The Society of Arts and Crafts listing fellowships and other opportunities. Harley posted recently looking for apparel designers, actually. Maya Lin, who you might know, designed the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C., has hired a lot of RISD interns and full-time hires over the years. We also will post grants and fellowships. So this is Anonymous Was a Woman. It's an environmental grant that you can get up to $20,000 to support your project. We'll have major galleries like Gagosian, apparel companies like Alexander Wang. We work quite a bit with NASA on a variety of projects, but they also are posting for a 3D modeler recently. And then again, lots of architecture firms, interior architecture, landscape. So this is SMMA. Publishers like Hatchet, which owns Little Brown Books. And then we also have a lot of our alumni post to, of course, our job board. We are grateful for that, love it. This is Adrian Gagnon's arts organization called Down City Design, which is really fabulous in the city of Providence. And you can see on our job board that we post about 400 internships a year. And we also post over 2,500 opportunities annually on the job board. We do have other job boards that are listed, in fact, by major. So you can go into this section and find job boards like Archinect for architecture, Coraflot for industrial design, graphic design, Animation World Network for animation, Workbook for illustration, photography. We also post, of course, the major supporting professional organizations like AIGA, IDSA, AIA, New York Foundation for the Arts, and also teaching job boards like Higher Ed Jobs, Chronicle, etc. I suspect a lot of you probably tap this site, but if you're looking for opportunities, jobs, internships, and also volunteerism, idealist.org is one of the best job boards you can be checking out, an amazing database and lots of listings. And then I always recommend that students and alumni still do a sweep through Indeed. And I know Indeed can be overwhelming, but at the same time, it's always good to do a sweep after you've looked at other sites. So I did something dangerous. I did art and searched New York, New York, and I found about 2,000 opportunities. Speaking of fine art, we have carved out a whole section at the career site called Artist Resources. And one of the things that's going to happen often, some of you out there know this, if you've been a practicing artist, you got to find studio space and sometimes live workspace. So Stephanie Diamond, who you see here, is actually an alum of our painting printmaking department, went to New York City, struggled finding space. So she did the RISD thing. She said, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to make my own website and resource and list these spaces. And it's one of the best sites you can go to looking for space in New York City. And I just love that very classic RISD right there. And of course, resources that link you to art fairs, that link you to galleries, that link you to arts organizations. The Steel Yard is a wonderful organization right in our backyard. Its executive director is also a RISD alum. We're connected to lots of New York organizations like the Elizabeth Foundation for the Arts. Other resources like Creative Capital are linked through the site. More fine art job boards like higherculture.org that comes out of Massachusetts. And also we have links to blogs such as Hyperallergic and others. Believe it or not, there's still some really great books to read. And artwork is, in my opinion, probably one of the best on the market. If you're a fine artist, I really highly recommend that you get this book because it is a very valuable in your career development. Also, The Profitable Artist is very good for the New York Foundation for the Arts. And then if you're working as a freelancer, this is still a must-have book, The Handbook of Ethical and Pricing Guidelines, great for illustrators, photographers, graphic designers, textile artists, and more. We have carved out a whole section on grants and residencies at the career site. So for artist residencies, one of the best directories you can use is the Artist Communities Alliance. And this is one that really leads you to terrific resources like Anderson Ranch and also Skowhegan and Oxbow. And I bring these up because I've also formulated partnerships with some of these major residencies. And in many cases, if you get in as a student or get in as a recent alum to Skowhegan, to Anderson Ranch and others, I cover half and they cover half and you get to go free. And you can see here at Skowhegan that we've covered almost $150,000 in matching funds with Skowhegan for RISD graduates to take part in the residency program. If you're looking internationally, Res Artis is a fabulous directory where you might find a residency at the Burren College of Art in Ireland. There's also these themed residencies now that are really cool. So the Santa Fe Art Institute does residencies on food equity, water rights, truth. Their current one is called Revolution. Actually, their new one is called Sovereignty. Their previous one was Revolution. And your work has to address these themes to get into the residency. And it just makes for a very vital and robust environment. Once again, we often are supporting that with our career programs. Last week, we had a terrific program on exploring artist residencies and covered all of the aspects of how to get into a residency and what residencies are about. We also have a section at the career site specifically on grants and awards that link you to resources like grants to individuals. We have been working on our own database for over a decade and have bookmarked nearly 800 grants, residencies, and fellowships and scholarships at our site, where you might find one like this one, the Bennett Prize, that in fact gives you $50,000 as a woman artist for your first solo exhibition. And we send out a newsletter every other week called Grants and Residency News, and we feature really interesting and grants and residencies that we really want you to take advantage of. My office also manages a fellowship called the Meharem Fellowship. This fellowship is going on its 12th year, and it gives you $5,000 to support your project working with an organization that's a nonprofit or government agency that impacts social justice, community activism, sustainability, and climate change. So we've had projects, this is Joel, who did a great project in Singapore, working with actually the education system to develop a curriculum about the climate. And in this case, Ruth was working on green architecture in Ethiopia. And Derek last year was working in the rainforest and in Ecuador and dealing with bamboo in terms of emergency housing and such. So you can see here that we've addressed almost all 20 majors have been represented. We've been in 27 countries and we've given out 111 awards at this point. My office also covers the Fulbright, and the Fulbright has had really incredible people from RISD. This has been Alan, who had the Fulbright last year to the Philippines, one of our awardees. You can see here that 109 awardees have happened since 1949. We've been in 44 countries, and we are consistently one of the top producing Fulbright institutions in the country in our specialty category. And then finally, I'm going to end on business and entrepreneurship. Once again, great resources at the career site. We put on a series called Mindshare. It's our TED-like conference where we bring in RISD alumni talking about their businesses and projects, like Kelly Walters and Alexander. We also run a series called Art of Business that gives you a lot of the nuts and bolts of business, marketing, planning, freelancing, taxes, pricing, all those things that you're really excited to do as an artist or a designer. Actually, no, you should be doing, sometimes not as excited. So we kicked it off this fall with a really terrific presentation from Alison Crony Moses. And what I loved about it is her talk involved her perspective on being an artist, a craftsperson, an educator, an art administrator, a mother, and a Black woman. And it was a really amazing talk. We also bring in people, like when we do taxes, Hannah Cole is one of the top tax experts in the country for artists and designers because she's an artist. So we really look to that when we do these workshops. And I also have another resource called Creative Study. I pay for a subscription for our student population where you can access business and finance related information that can help you on everything from business entities, intellectual property, contracts. They also have a great series now on the solidarity economy and collectives too. RISD is really fortunate to have a student club called eShip that works on entrepreneurship and really supports entrepreneurship on campus. And of course, a lot of our students and graduates deal with freelancing. So we have workshops on freelancing as well. In addition to all of that, I'm part of a collaboration with Harvard University's core program. And if you participate in this, you will learn business analytics, economics for managers, and financial accounting through Harvard's Business School online. And you can see here, there's about 22 colleges that participate, but RISD is probably the only art and design school in the mix, right in the middle there. And since we started the program about 7 years ago, we've had about 365 RISD students register for the program, which is terrific. And Harvard has actually given them $160,000 in scholarship funding to take part in the program. And then finally, I'm going to end on Kickstarter. We have our own Kickstarter page. Some projects have really taken off, like this one by Lucas that raised over $200,000. In this case, Christine raised $11,000 to go to Fashion Week. And then Nashra, in fact, raised over $20,000 to support this board game that she did when she was a student in illustration. Since we started our Kickstarter page 10 years ago, it has raised $8,297,000 to support RISD projects. And that is the end of this whirlwind of information and resources. So I'm going to stop sharing here. And I know that covered a lot. Actually was right about 30 minutes, so nailed that too. And ready to field any questions you have. But I definitely hope, you know, in seeing all this information that you just have a better understanding of all the things that we're providing. And I got to tell you, and I know Molly will confirm, RISD just has so many talks and lectures and events and programs. I just at times just wish I could go to every single one of them and not be working because they're just fantastic. So when you are here, if you come here, just know there's so much of that, but it's also kind of competition, like, oh, I want to go to that, but that talk's going on and that's going on. And it's probably a very good problem to have, but it is indeed something that happens here all the time. So
yeah, I mean, you have to curate your own education in a way, right? You have to figure out like what are the things in the access points that you want and you need within your practice. So absolutely. So we do have some questions. I want to encourage everybody, it's a smaller group. So if you want to raise your hand, we'll call on you and you can ask out loud, a little less disassociative with Zoom. But the first question is, what kind of job opportunities exist on campus during your studies? I think this student is asking particularly to lessen the financial burden.
So there are two elements to that. There's work study, and that would be through our student employment office. And there are graduate students, if they don't have graduate assistantships, will obviously take part in work study. And we have several graduate students in our office who are work study students and not just graduate assistants. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. So you could still be working in our office even if you're not a graduate assistant, which our peer advisors are graduate assistants. Also, what's kind of really nice, because this is happening more and more, the work study jobs, they do work with nonprofits and community groups in the city, the student employment office, where you could actually be doing your work study off campus at some of these locations. And you would talk to student employment about that. But it's a way where you are getting paid, but also engaged in the community of Providence. And they work all that out. And then again, graduate assistants are something you would get when you're accepted, if you're granted a graduate fellowship or assistantship. And some of those lead to jobs like those in my office and many, many other parts of the campus. So.
Yeah. And, even for domestic and international students, you can work up to 20 hours. So there's beyond the departmental assistantships, which, more than 90% of students receive some kind of an assistantship through their department, which means that could be TA ships, research, shop, monitoring, anything in that area. But you can also apply to work like in my office too. I have a grad assistant as well, right? So there's all the different departments and offices across the campus hire for different things. And we have a student employment website where we list all of those jobs. So you can work up to 20 hours, wouldn't recommend it. It's a lot of work, but I understand offsetting that cost. I worked as a grad assistant when I went to school. I didn't go to RISD, but it helped give me a little bit more spending cash for materials and whatnot. So it really can help bolster what you do get for financial aid. And I'll just mention that your financial aid does come at the time of acceptance. So if you are accepted, you'll know exactly what your financial situation is. So you'll know if you need to apply for other jobs or not. All right. The next question, Kevin, I'm not sure if we have this answer, but I'll ask it anyways. What is the success rate of a graduate student in a secure job after completion of the program, which I think is actually a bigger question than just that, right? Because go ahead.
Yeah, let me show you at the career site. I'm going to share my screen again. So when you're at the career site and you go to this section called Meet with Us that I showed you at the very beginning, and you go on career statistics, we have 3 really detailed and robust infographics that do a lot of breakdown. I have said my kids have been in college and I've visited a lot of campuses and career sites, and I have not seen this kind of detail at most of them. They're much simpler often. So to give you a sense, this first one is a merger of our stats from our big programs, our grants and awards, but also our career survey. So what we do is we survey every year our graduates when they're 1 year out. This does include undergraduate and graduate in the stats. But I have to tell you, the stats are consistently in this first one that you're seeing, which includes full-time, part-time, internship, and freelance opportunities, consistently runs in the range of 97 to 99%. That's 1 year out. Now, this is from a response rate last year of 23%. Response rates did go down a bit from the pandemic. It seemed that people weren't responding to surveys as much. That could be more of a universal thing. but our response rates have been as high as 40%, and the stats have been the same. And in regards to full-time employment 1 year out, that stat tends to run anywhere from about 65 to 72%, which is right on average of graduates from any liberal arts university or such. And what's also really interesting, again, these stats have held firm, is the stat below. And I think this is a really important stat when you get back to majors. The question is, was your outcome directly related to your studies? So you got the stat above that says, full-time, part-time, et cetera. And you can see here from last year that 77% said that their outcome was directly related to their studies. So it means you come here, you study, and the opportunities that you get are related to your studies. I can tell you that figure is extremely high. And if you Google this for just standard college graduates, it's usually in the 40% range, sometimes up to the, maybe low 60s, but 77% is extremely high on that. Then the next question is, not the question, but if it wasn't directly related, what about indirectly related? So I could be a graphic designer doing illustration, I can be an architect doing painting. And that runs, last year it ran 18%. That actually often runs in the 20% range for RISD, 20 to 30%. And when that happens, it means the direct goes down a little bit. But the next figure, I think, is the most telling, that your outcome was not related at all to your studies. So you go to school and it's not related. Last year, it was 5%. That's almost unheard of. That number runs much higher when you graduate from most colleges, where it's, I got a job, but it's not related to my studies at all. And that could be anywhere from 10 to 20%. So I think these are just really important stats to show. They're very consistent over years at RISD. And with these stats, you can also see more listings of companies that hired RISD, internships. There's even a further breakdown here on internships and jobs, and then even more breakdown on our grants and awards that you saw from the presentation. So just wanted to show you that, and that's all available there. We're doing our the next class, because we always do a year out. So we are surveying, that was the class of 2021. We're doing the class of 2022 right now. And we should have new stats available by early spring, late winter, and we'll get those posted there. So those will all be refreshed in literally a couple months. So
cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just absolutely incredible. But it also goes to show, like, that's the kind of education that you get here versus like a different kind of university. We're a private, not for profit art school. Art and design, architecture, research, and teaching, if I'm going to say them all. But so the services, there's no shortage of opportunities or services, right? Whereas if you were to go get a communications degree, there's not something that's so directly aligned with that there's not going to be a 90% rate of students getting, into their field. What is even their field, right? So I think it's just very specialized here in what we do. And that's why we have different disciplines, because there's that depth of knowledge within those disciplines that exists within the program. And then that feeds into the alumni, then that feeds into opportunities that Kevin is able to capitalize on and provide to you in turn. So yeah, I think that's a great overview.
Yeah, and I would note the flip of that too, Molly, which is RISD is very well known for your ability to do a deep dive in a discipline with really incredible faculty, coursework, facilities, and we really encourage you to visit the campus and see these facilities, which are quite impressive. But what is really great is you get skilled in every way, both physical skills and knowledge, to go out and to find opportunities. But many of you are coming from an art and design background, of course, in your undergraduate education and your work experiences. Artists and designers are the most incredible in being flexible and evolving. So you might graduate in a certain major and end up in a very different area over the long term because you want that. Or another factor is the world is evolving so quickly and changing. and marketplaces and job markets, a lot of education can be very static. You learn something and you're kind of stuck with it. In art and design, I think it almost empowers you in the realm of flexibility and to evolve and move with changing economies. And that's not to say anything's ever perfect. Getting work, you got to work at it too. But at the same time, I've always been so impressed with how artists and designers have navigated economic downturns and changes in economic situations, more so than a lot of my friends who graduate from liberal arts institutions. So.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. With the skills that you learn here are to be able to think on your toes and think on, and make and pivot really quickly. I think that, COVID, actually, we learned something from such a tragedy, or we learned something through crisis, right? And, one of the things that we learned, particularly in the grad world, is that we're able to make our grad admissions, recruitment, and programming more accessible by having it online like this. It's just always been so successful. That being said, COVID is over and we are having an in-person open house this Friday. So if you are nearby, you are local, we'd love to have you visit. We're going to have departmental breakouts. We'll have a student panel with open Q&A. We'll also show you some main resources on campus, like the library and the museum and the nature lab. So yeah, we'll have some continental breakfast, some snacks for you guys. We would love to see you in person, even though this online platform does work really well for most graduate students. And I don't see any other questions, Kevin. I know that presentation is so informative. There's so much on that website, but that this session is recorded. And if you want the recording, or if you had to leave early, ask us for the recording. I'm going to put in the admissions email right here. And of course, you have the careers website. Kevin mentioned they are very, very busy. So it's not like email us first admissions if you have careers questions, and we'll point you in the right direction. Oh wait, I did that wrong. I misspelled. It's admissions, not admission. Let me do it one more time. So if there are any more last minute questions, I just want to thank Kevin for your time, and thanks everybody for hanging on and joining us for this extremely informative session on the Career Center. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone. So glad you were here today. Good luck in all of this. For a lot of you, of course, you've been through an undergraduate, going through a graduate again. As I mentioned, my daughter's in grad school right now, and we went through this. So it's fresh on my mind too, and I know it's a lot to juggle. So wishing you the best. I hope you can come to campus too, and good luck. Okay.
Thank you.
Molly, thank
Bye,
you.
everybody. Thank you. Bye.